Greetings, everyone. How are you guys doing? I am the Moon Mama, and today is Sunday, and I wanted to come in today and talk about the astrology. I haven't been here in a little while. I haven't been here as much, but there's so much going on. The astrology is so intense and transformational, and we have an eclipse coming on Wednesday. We have had the nodes, which are the points of transformation, the things that we're working on in our lives. We've had those points in Libra and Aries since July 2023. And we have undergone a tremendous shift in the way we relate to the other. It's really a bit of a mind fuck to try to talk about it in a way that actually makes sense, because we've been behaving in the ways that don't work any longer all of our lives. Happy Sunday, Inye. And how that looks is externalizing everything, like how I see myself do it. For instance, if I see a certain amount of money in my bank account, immediately I will calculate what I can do in the world with that much money. That is the way that we externalize. So all of a sudden my brain goes into the future, it goes into accounting, it goes into the things that I can do with that money, how much. And when I do that, I lock myself into an old pattern based upon old information. And the reason I want to talk about this stuff is because it's so subtle, and it's so subtle that we don't think about it. We don't realize we're doing it. It's just how it is. And we are being forced to change that. Another thing that I see that we do is we adjust our behavior to make others feel comfortable. So I happen to be the kind of person that really doesn't I've experienced a lot of trauma. So because I've experienced so much trauma, I don't see the world in the way that other humans do. Because I've lost my mother and my father, and I grew up in the crack epidemic, I just don't have feelings or cares about the things that most people care about. But I will adjust that so that people won't think I'm insensitive. I know that I'm not insensitive. I just don't have the feeling of it in the way that somebody else does. But I will adjust my language or coddle or do things or say things to make other people feel more comfortable about me not caring about the things they care about. I also see that people have a deep fear of being alone. Many of us carry deep, untouched trauma around being alone. I work with clients constantly who are saying, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone, or I'm lonely, or they're saying they are lonely, right? And it comes from this mindset that having company or being with other people means that you are not alone. And that is not the case. You can be with people and still not be known, and still not be felt, and still not be seen. So it's not that people don't want to be alone. They want to be connected. They want to feel seen. They want to feel alive. They want to feel valued. And what they're attempting to do is outsource that through another person. And it's impossible. It is impossible to outsource connection, to outsource feeling seen, to outsource feeling loved. It's impossible. It's an illusion to think that someone else is going to bring the love, the connection, the understanding, and those things that you desire. Those things only come from a deep connection to yourself. But because we have this idea that the external world is where we are going to get our needs met, and the external world is all illusion. It's all built up on false narratives and ideas that are outdated from the past. So you're yearning, you're desiring to have someone else meet your needs, to have someone to make you feel safe, to have someone to make you feel valuable is an illusion. The people in your life can only and always only reflect to you who you are with yourself. So if you love yourself, the people in your life will reflect love to you. If you see yourself and understand yourself and hear yourself and honor yourself, the people in your life will do that. The other trick around this loneliness thing and this not wanting to be alone is that many people are afraid of who they will be, who they are, when they don't have someone else to bounce off of. Like, most people don't value themselves enough to, and that was my thing. Like, what I realized about myself was, like, I wanted to be with another because I didn't feel like I was interesting enough. I didn't feel like I had anything worthy of spending long hours with and getting to know. I didn't feel the draw to uncover myself, to discover more of who I am, to build myself, to grow. So I was looking for someone to distract me from what I needed for myself. Now, the other thing that's happening in this astrological window, we just had a Pisces eclipse. Pisces governs the subconscious. It governs empathy. It governs the things that we all have together, that we're all in together. So, like today, we all believe it's Sunday because somewhere, hundreds of years ago, somebody said it was Sunday, but we all believe it, right? We all believe that, the things that we all believe. We all might believe that there's a God. We all believe that humans who have vaginas and breasts are women. We all believe that humans who have penises and a chest are men, right? Like, these are all things that we believe. And that is beginning to change. The things that we have agreed upon that are, like that gender is this fact. That shit is going away. We're watching it go away. We're watching it be dissolved. And the more that we can question our agreements. Like, I know this agreement thing, right, is fascinating because as women, I see it amongst girlfriends often. There is a need for agreement. Girl, I did such and such and such and such and such, and like, let me say it this way. And in the last year or so, I was in a friendship that I noticed when she would say something, I had this pull inside of me to agree with her. Even if I didn't agree with her, there was just something in me that would go, or I would be looking for ways to blend into her experience. And at some point I witnessed myself in that and decided to stop doing it. I decided to withhold my agreement so that I could just stand on my own and allow her to stand on her own. We didn't need to collapse into one another. We didn't need to take our separateness and bring it together. What I realized was when I would go into agreement that in that agreement, I would have to give up some aspect of myself. And so, for instance, my friend is a married person, and maybe they were talking about relationships a lot, but I'm a single person. But because being single is not as highly prized in our culture, my tendency, my magnet would be pulled to her energy around relationship. So then I would begin to feel like I need a partner. I should be doing that too. And then I would have to check in and go, well, is that really true? It's not true. I don't feel like I need a partner. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I don't feel like I need to be in agreement with her. And so I stopped giving that agreement and I started really being loyal to myself. This is this Pisces energy, how we can just overly empathize with one another and overly be in others' business. And, like you get off of a phone call with someone and you spend 3 hours thinking about the things that they said to you or what you should have said or what wasn't said. All of that is this over agreements, and those are energetic drains. That stuff drains your energy. And as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, you must stand in your own system. You must be true to your own self. To thine own self be true. Why? Because your connection to the divine, to yourself, to your ancestry, to your lineage needs your devotion to function in the way that it's meant to. If your attention is on someone else, is focused on the needs of others, if your at this time, if your attention is externalized, your life force energy is being drained. Because we have had the South Node in Libra. So the way we show up to relationships, the way we participate in relationships is being restructured. You must know, the thing that's tricky about relationships is that we often define ourselves through our relationship to others. We define ourselves through how others make us, how they say we make them feel, or what they need from us, or what we can give to them. But that's not truly who you are. Who you are, this is why I use astrology, because who you are is innate to your own codes. When you show up to the other is really a mirror of you, because energetically we are all one. We appear in the material world as separate. I have my own body, my own, right? But internally, we are all one. We're all connected at the energetic level. Like when a tree that bears fruit, that tree is anchored into the soil and it blossoms out and it has leaves and then it bears fruit, right? But the whole organism is one thing. Somebody can come and take a piece of fruit off of that tree and take it to the other side of the world, but that fruit is still a part of that tree, even though it's not actually a part. Energetically, it's the same energetic structure, the same energetic codes. So we all are connected, and it is imperative that you begin to condition and give power to the part of your own self, because if you are relying on the external world for your sense of self, for your power, for your affirmation, to feel valuable, to feel enough, this external world is going away. It's an illusion. And I know that sounds really like a trip. What do I mean it's going away? What do I mean it's going away? I mean that the codes are changing. The codes are changing drastically, which means that the things that we used to do, the things that we gave value to, will no longer be valuable. And it's just a natural evolutionary thing. The thing is are you evolving also? Are you making sure that you are evolving? Like when I was a little girl, I'll never forget. It's so fascinating because the world is so different now. But I remember being a very little girl and the banks were not open on the weekends. They literally, like, you could not go into the bank on Saturday and Sunday, and there was no ATM. So if you didn't go to the bank from Monday to Friday between 9 and 3, you didn't have any money. And then something happened. The ATM came. And an ATM came so then you could get money out of the bank all of the time. It changed everything. It changed the whole world because the banks went from being open on Mondays to Fridays from 8 to 3 to all of a sudden now being open all the time, seemingly because there was an ATM. It changes the whole way the culture worked. Now, we're going through new changes again. We've seen it happen with cell phones. Like, I haven't driven to a job in years because, not even before COVID, because once I got my own business, I was like, oh, I can do everything from here. It changed everything about my life. So now all of a sudden I didn't have to drive as much. I didn't have to go to the post office. And so now I had to find new ways to keep my body active, to keep my energy moving, because I was no longer using my energy in the ways that I had been. You've been calling for this change for some time now. It's happening. I really have. Somebody been listening to me. I have been calling for this change for a long time. I was born for this change. I have been calling my life. When I came out of my mother's yaya, to call for the change because we are having a cosmic shift right now. We're living through something extraordinary. And the question is, what are you doing to support yourself? What are you doing to support yourself through the shifts that are happening? And it's coming. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, it really is. It's really happening. So the things that I am doing is I have had to detox my whole body system. I've had to change, like I've let go of almost every person in my life that I'm not related to. Like I'll say this, I don't have any friends anymore. I have people that I work with and I have a family. That is it. I have people that I work with in various ways, and I have a family. And because the way that women do friendship is toxic to our well-being. We literally function like monkeys in a barrel holding one another down. Generally that is the case. And I realized that I needed space to be myself. I didn't want the pressure of feeling like me, that I need to conform, that I need to be in agreement, that I need to hold up the values of others, because people might be doing things that I don't do, but that doesn't mean that I care. Like, we might be friends. Like, you know, maybe there was a time when I had girlfriends and we used to all go out and drink together, right? Because that was what we did. We go out and we drink, you know, we'd be out for hours drinking bottles of wine. And then I decided to stop drinking. And I'm fine with the fact that you drink, but people often don't feel good about what they're doing when everyone's not in alignment with what they're doing. So now it's a problem that I'm not drinking. I'm just using this as an example. This is not my truth. It's a problem that I'm not drinking because I'm doing something good for myself. And if your drinking is good for you, then by all means drink, you know, but people feel a certain kind of way about it, you know? And so it's just become better for me at this time to just be in more solitude so that I'm not having to struggle with the choices that I'm making that are good for myself because other people are in their own journey where they are. Yes, my friends don't know how to interact with me now. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing that happens. And so I just decided to give myself a real season of solitude. And I'm doing it between the eclipses. So we have another eclipse. So this empathy piece, the ways that we like blend in together and like pay attention to your own life and pay attention to why you're making the choices that you're making. And if you're doing something that feels good, does it feel current? Is it outdated? Are you doing it because you don't want other people to feel a certain way? Like, just watch yourself. If you just watch yourself, you'll see it. And as women, we do this all of the time. Like, I don't know if men do this. Are there any men here? Do you guys sort of like have this codependent behavior where you do what your boys want you to do because you don't want to rock the boat? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. So pay attention to how you do that. And then we're going to have an eclipse on Wednesday in Libra. Men do it too? Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Thank you for that. Cause I like in my mind, I would think that men don't do that, but okay, that's good. So we're going to have an eclipse on Wednesday in Libra at the 10th degree of Libra, conjunct the South Node, in Libra. So all of these relationship patterns, the way we relate to money, when we first started the call, I was saying that when we first started this live, I was saying that I can see an amount of money in my bank account and immediately I will equate that number that I see with what I can actually do. Like, oh, if I have $5,000 in the bank, I'm like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. And I literally, when I do that, I'm spending the money. Like, I'm literally trapping the energy. We don't understand how powerful our thoughts are and how we put things in the future and how we live in the past. Like, we don't get how intimate these things are and how those thoughts of, what about that? Like, over analyzing is creating old realities in the present moment. And we're unconscious when we're doing it. And so as I've been watching myself, as I've just been in solitude and witnessing my mind and how it's calculating and how it's thinking and the stories it's telling me, and then seeing how those narratives show up in my life, because thought is creative. Thought is alive. Thought is real. And when we are doing these things inside of ourselves, we are casting a narrative that we are destined to experience. And many of these thoughts are ancestral patterns that you inherited from your mother and her mother, and they're not even fucking yours. They're not even yours. Like, I remember when my son was born, being so afraid to be the mother of a son. Why? And I sat with it. I was like, why is there so much terror? Like, I was so terrified. Why am I so terrified? Because of my grandmother and her sons and her terror. Why was the terror? Because of racism and Black women being afraid that their sons would be murdered. So now the epigenetics that was in my great-great-great-grandmother and her fear for her sons is showing up in 2007 and my fear for my son, right? Because it's a pattern that has been passed down. So I had to look at it and question myself and do rituals and practices to free myself from a pattern, a mindset that wasn't even mine. And the reason we still see these things happening today is because deep within the subconscious of many women, there is fear that they are not safe or that their children are not safe. So because they believe it, they generate it in their experience. We are powerful, and we must become aware of how we're using our minds and how that reality is coming. I talk to women all the time, with sexual stuff, with rape and molestation. If you come from women who have experienced generations of sexual molestation and sexual abuse for generations, it is in the codes in your own psyche. You may have not had anything happen, but then one day you're out and you experience a date rape, and you think like, oh, something has happened to me. You attracted it to you. It's a horrible thing, but it's how this reality works. We are attracting stuff based upon our thoughts and our frequencies, and we don't know it. How do we change that mindset, especially when you don't know where it came from? You can come and book some time with me. It's deep work. This is why I'm consistent with the work. It's, how do I do it? I do the work. I stay in the work. I stay in my practices. I stay in the healing rhythms. I stay following the cycles. I stay looking at my behaviors, and I'm committed. I'm devoted. I'm loyal. It's because it's the only way out now. There is no other way. We can't take a pill for it. Most of us are dealing with ancestral patterns and traumas that have us trapped in ways of being. And we're like, oh, I'm addicted to alcohol, or, oh, my relationship. It has nothing to do with the external expression. The external expression is just trying to get your attention. It is a deep karmic ancestral code that has been running through your family or through you for lifetimes. And it's trying to get your attention. And what we do is we go to the doctor and we're like, oh, I'm depressed. And the doctor gives you depression medication, but that's not what's really going on with you. That's not it. So when I got really committed and serious about healing, I started looking beyond the obvious. I started looking to the depths of myself and looking in my family and looking in my environment and looking at myself and asking questions, telling me about myself. How are they teaching me about myself? So there's just so much. At any rate, I love y'all. You guys can book readings with me or coaching, and we have this eclipse. So stay present to yourself and your needs. Stay connected to your deepest desires, and stay connected to and stay aware. Stay aware and prioritize yourself and watch yourself. All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.